Is this the real Wayne Smith?
Can you see me? Because I can't see me in the corner.
Not yet.
I can see you.
How do I look?
You look fabulous.
Thank you, darling. I can't see you yet, but I know you look fabulous.
I did my best.
It says Wayne's large iPad Pro, so.
Yes, I like large things.
Wayne, you look fantastic.
Thank you. It's called Nip and Tuck. But look, I spilled ice cream on my table. Should I put this away? I don't know. I should have. It's been there for years. And yeah.
So this is my vision, Wayne.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the truth. And if you're not comfortable with this, you tell me.
No.
3 parts.
Okay.
Wayne as Cher. Wayne at the makeup counter coming out of Cher. At the end, you're Wayne Smith. Out of drag. Are you down?
Oh, you mean for me to get out of it?
So I have a list of questions that we can go down the line and start with.
Okay, the only thing I don't really love to talk about is politics.
Neither do I.
Because you're never going to get everybody to agree, ever. Ever, no matter what you say. If I say I'm going to vote for Mickey Mouse, there's going to be people that like Donald Duck and hate Mickey Mouse. There's always some bitch out there, some Karen. I actually knew that I had to go to Hollywood because Texas just was not the place for me. We lived in a very small town where I did not fit in any way, shape, fashion, or form. And I was teased constantly in school. So I knew when I graduated, I had to go somewhere. Well, I was going to be the next Bob Mackie. I knew this. I knew I was going to take all of his customers away and I was going to be the next diva designer. And I got accepted to go to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. So Bob Mackie was on the board of directors. And we did a big fashion show where you had to make outfits and show them off. And of course, I was going to do a beaded gown. So I went to a lady. Her name was Helen Marlar. I miss her every day of my life. She was like an angel. She was actually in charge of all of his beadwork. So anything you ever saw that was beaded, her department did this. And so I went to meet Helen. And I said, I'm doing some gowns. I want to do 2 outfits for my fashion show. Can you help me with these? She said, well, they're going to be expensive. She was a little Italian, real loud mouth. I said, well, we'll can we pay you in payments or what? She took a liking to me, my brother. I don't know why, but we became almost like family. And I did the fashion show, and I had a gown that was made like a peacock with a peacock train, all beaded, crystals and bugle beads. It was beautiful. I still actually have the tail. And Bob Mackie was there, and after the show, we talked and stuff, and he said something about he was very impressed and all. It was very nice. But, I mean, he's going to say, what he's going to say, it was hideous or whatever. It was nothing like his stuff, I'm sure, but at the time, I thought it was. So that was my in, and I got to meet him. And then when I was hanging out a lot at Helen's, I would go there just to see the girls that did the beadwork and say hi or bring him lunch or do something. He would come in and out there and always see me. So he knew that I was serious. And it rolled around that he was going to do a line of clothing called Bob Mackie Originals. And they were going to be in big department stores like Neiman Marcus and bigger, nicer stores. And that was the year that I worked for him when I decided to go try out for go to a costume contest for Halloween. And Bob Mackie sat down and said, what do you want to dress as? And I said, maybe a bag lady or a clown. He goes, do Marilyn. I think you could do Marilyn. And I said, okay. He goes, I have a guy that did her makeup, his makeup assistant. He did her face. I'll have him do your makeup, and I have a lady to fix your wig. You're not going to turn Bob Mackie down when he offers this. So I said, sure. So they painted me up as Marilyn, and I went to a contest, and I won Best Female Costume. And that's the night somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said I should audition for La Cage aux Folles because they're getting a show ready for Florida. And that's how everything kind of rolled into place. But Bob Mackie, to show you how nice he was, he called from New York City when he was showing his first line of clothing to the public, to all the critics that could just read him for filth. He called to make sure my costume was ready. But he was the most mild-mannered and most creative genius I've ever met in my life. But my job basically there was to mark the dresses. And what marking dresses means is like there's a pattern for the dress, and then the beadwork is traced on it. So you lay this down on tracing paper on the fabric, and you go over it with a pencil or in a wheel and make all that go off on the fabric, and then the beaders know what to bead. So I would do the marking, and I'd also make the beaded fringe. And I made beaded fringe for Marie Osmond, Cher, Barbara Streisand, anybody you can think of, I've done fringes for them, for their
That's
gowns.
fantastic.
So he always called me his fringe queen. And he protected me because certain celebrities would come and say, "Ooh, who's this?" Like Jim Neighbors. And Bob's like, "Leave him alone. Wayne's under 18. Leave him alone." Because I was 17, going to be 18 soon. And he was not. That was the first time I ever met him, and that was scary. So
How old are you now, Wayne?
right now I'll be 60 years old in January. And I've done shows now since 82. So you do the math. That's a long time. But look at these hands, we're almost 60.
I think we need to drink to that.
Honey, I'll do more than drink. I'll eat and drink.
That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you.
The first time I met Cher was with my older brother. And yes, his nickname was Sonny. You can laugh now, whatever. His real name was Harry because my father's name was Harry, but everybody called my father Sonny. So my brother, when he was born, he was Sonny Boy because he was my father's first son. So he talked to me one time. I visited him every summer, usually to go out to LA and stay with him for the summers. And he said, "Why don't we make a couple of outfits and go to Vegas? Because Diana Ross is closing one night, and the very next night is Cher. So we'll take something to Diana Ross and something to Cher." So the beat it. We'll go talk to Helen. That was about the time we just were getting in with Helen with the beadwork. So we went to Vegas on this mission that we're going to meet these two stars.
Yes.
Well, back then, if you looked like you were doing something that was necessary, like delivering costumes, they would let you in. Well, I had this costume for Diana Ross, and I just told them I have an outfit for Diana Ross, but they thought I was delivering something she'd ordered. They let me right back in the back. I went to her dressing room, and I heard people talking, and I was so nervous. And the guard goes, that's her right there. So I walked in. She looked at me, and the other people kind of stopped talking. They all just looked at me like, "What is he doing back here?" And I brought a sketch of the dress that I gave her and explained to her that we went to all the effort to make her a dress, and we hoped that it would fit well enough, or she could have it fixed with, some seamstresses. But I've loved her my whole life. I listened to her. My brother used to play her albums, and I would listen to them through the wall, and I loved them. She took the dress and kind of was cordial a little bit. And she signed the sketch. She put, I think she put 2 Wayne, Diana Ross. That's all. Nothing more. I got out of the room, and no more was I 5 feet from the dressing room that I heard her say, "We got to do something about security. Not just everybody can walk back here." And my heart just was crushed. I was crushed. I thought, "Oh my God." She goes, "I mean it. I can't have this ever again." I was like, I took the sketch and I just tore it in half and put it in the trash can. I didn't even want it. It just killed me.
Wow.
So then I was nervous because I thought, "Oh God, now tomorrow's Cher." Well, same thing. I showed up and said, "I have an outfit for Cher." They let me right in the back. I walked in, and she was standing in with her back to the door. She had sweatpants on. I'll never forget this. And she turned around and she said, "Well, hi, who are you?" I said, "I'm Wayne." I said, "I'm a huge fan, and I've made you an outfit." She goes, "Well, let me see." And I brought it over. She goes, "I love this. She's so nice. I love it." And she grabbed the sketch, and she said, "All my love, Cher," to Wayne. And she turned and she goes, "Where are you and your brother sitting tomorrow?" And I told her, she goes, "No, you're not. Come here, come here." And she goes, "Make sure they're moved up to the front banquette at Caesars in the middle. I want them up front." She moved us and made sure we were my first time to meet Cher. And my brother made that happen.
That's a story. That's
Yep.
a story.
It's in
And
my
what a
book.
marvelous comparison between 2 different experiences.
Yeah, and it was in 2 days. It was the day she closed and the day Cher opened. And everything was smooth. I worked for the studios. I got a job for ABC as costuming. And I got a job that my teacher at the fashion school couldn't get. So I thought, well, I don't need this school anymore. I'm dropping out. So I dropped out of school and went to work for the studios. I worked on a TV show called Friday Night Live. It's almost like a Saturday Night Live show, but it was with some crazy characters that you had to do really quick editing. Like they needed a short sleeve shirt. You got scissors, just cut the shirt off because it's live TV. I had to be quick. So I did that, and I worked a little bit on the Lawrence Welk show, which I won't talk about that. That will be in my book because that was another story. Believe me, it's X-rated, so I'll tell that later. And then I happened to go to a club there in LA called Acacia Fall, and I went there with my older brother and his friend Tommy. And sitting in the audience, I couldn't believe there was movie stars sitting in this room watching these men dressed up as famous ladies. And I turned to my brother and Tommy. I said, "I want to do this." And my brother said, "You're not going to be a drag queen." And Tommy said, "Oh, let him do it if he wants to do it. Don't worry about it." I said, "Well, I really want to try out." So I talked to the people that were in the show already, and they said, you have to audition with 2 characters. We're getting a show ready for a nightclub in Florida at the Fontainebleau Hilton, and we need a whole new cast. So I studied Dolly Parton, and I auditioned as Dolly in Maryland. And that first audition, I got the part to leave Los Angeles and go to Florida. So that was my first taste of this. And we did that for a year, a year and a half. And I was going back to LA, and they wanted me to join the cast in Hollywood. And I said, only if I do Marilyn and Dolly. They said, well, we've got a Marilyn, and we just need you for Dolly. I said, well, then I don't want the job. I played hardball. So 2 days before I was supposed to go to work, the producer called me home. He said, bring your Marilyn costume. And to be Marilyn in Hollywood, believe me, it was an honor. I mean, I performed for Frank Sinatra. I performed for everybody you can imagine as Marilyn Monroe, which is really was something. So that was basically when I got started, and that was about 1984, I believe. And I've been doing this ever since.
Fantastic. I've seen.
Well, no, I've done it for so long now. I can do it in my sleep. But that's basically how Little Wayne was born. Every day, something will come back to me about it. I would pass it during the day, and there'd be pink feathers blowing out the doors. Because what they did is they would take the pink feathers, put them back in bags, and the next night they'd spread them out on the floor again. So the place was lined in pink feathers everywhere. I couldn't believe it. And once you worked there and knew that every night celebrities would be in the audience, whether it be Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Lana Turner, Martha Raye, Nell Carter. I could name names for 24 days. I mean, I met everybody. Not only met them, I performed for them. It's like the night that Lucille Ball came to the club was the night, it was Milton Berle's birthday. He turned 80. And everybody from Johnny Carson, Frank Sinatra, everybody, Steve Lawrence, Eddie Gourmet, everybody. Only one I cared about was Lucille Ball. That's all I cared about. I didn't care who else was going to be there. I wanted to meet Lucy. So I had a picture that I had paid payments on to get of her from the movie Maine. And I had her autograph it for me. And she actually asked me that night to perform her Vitamin Vegemin skit, which I could still hear. I get goosebumps. I could still hear her. I want you to do. Her voice was real low and gravelly. She had these huge amber colored glasses on, and I was just amazed. I couldn't believe it. So that's the memories of Lacage are just so awesome that you can't even fathom. I mean, to be on a billboard on Sunset Boulevard that says, come to Lacage, the most glamorous women in Hollywood are men.
How did it feel when you walked into that space, into that room where all of that energy moved? If you could be as descriptive as possible, and I mean with all of your senses that your body has to offer you, how does it feel to be in that room?
When you walked in the room, knowing that you were one of 7 cast members, not counting the dancers, that was going to be on the stage performing for people who you idolized your entire life. You just felt the electricity running through every organ in your body. You felt like you were just made of electricity. Oh, honey, when you look in the room and you see Johnny Carson looking right at you and laughing, when you're doing a comedy number as Dolly Parton, you know you've done something, because to make those people laugh and enjoy it and stand up at the end of the show and give you a standing ovation, that's amazing. I mean, it really was. I don't think anything's ever matched it too much. I mean, I did a show in Atlantic City for 3,500 people a night in the Tropicana showroom, and I performed as Marilyn Monroe and Cher both singing live. That was a fabulous experience with a crew of like 25, and it was just incredible. That was nice. But nothing matches Lacage. I think that's my one memory that I'll always have in my heart, and I love it. Usually at Lacage, even at the Jewel Box Review in Florida, and if a celebrity came in the room, somebody in the cast would do that person and come out on stage and be that person. Well, they came in the back, and lo and behold, it was Phyllis Diller. And I grew up watching Bob Hope and Phyllis Diller movies. I've watched her TV skits on Laughing and things. I said, please, please let me do Phyllis Diller, please, please. So everybody said, okay, you do it. So during the show, I'm teasing a wig, in between doing Marilyn and Dolly Parton, teasing a wig, borrowing yellow fishnets, red marabou pumps, everything I could get that was crazy. I got that outfit on. I made a long cigarette holder out of straws. I put the straws into each other. They look like a long cigarette holder. And the MC was Gypsy. He really is fabulous. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, at Lacage, we do magic. Celebrities meet themselves coming and going. Miss Phyllis Diller, meet Miss Phyllis Diller. And I came on stage and went, ah, 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 ah. She stood up and just went, ah, she started screaming. And we got a picture together. I got goosebumps just telling the story. It was so wonderful. And we took a picture together. Years later, flash forward, I was on a talk show with Phyllis as Dolly Parton, and I reminded her that we were at Lacage at the Fontainebleau Jewel Box Review. And she goes, oh yeah, she goes, I do remember that. Your photos when you dressed as me. Then later, I met her again and said, we were in a bed doing a talk show where you got in a bed. So I told her we were in bed together. She said, you have to refresh my memory on that one. But she was just wonderful. So that really made my day to come on stage and be Phyllis Diller for Phyllis Diller. One afternoon on a fluke, I can't remember, I know his name's Michael, I can't remember his last name, but he said, come to my house, I want to paint you a Cher. So I thought, wow. I said, I could actually do Cher, could I? He goes, yes. So I told the producer, and Lou said, nah, stick to the blondes. You're Marilyn and Dolly, stick to that. I said, okay. Then one fateful night, Bobby Etienne, who did Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin in the show, was going to go see Shirley Bassey, and it was going to open up 2 acts. So I went to the producer, I said, if I can do all 3, can I do Cher? He goes, what is this with Cher? I said, I just want to do it. He goes, I tell you, take Dolly out. Marilyn has to be in the show. Do Marilyn and Cher just tonight. I said, okay. Well, they announced that Cher was here. It was after 9 o'clock, and she come out because they were banning her video on MTV until after 9 because the outfit was so risque at the time. Now they show whatever. So he announced it. I came out and did the number. Everybody went crazy. And Luke came to me after the thing, and he goes, let's keep Cher in for a while. You do Marilyn and Cher. The only bad thing, there was 2 shows on Friday and 2 on Saturday. So it had to be Marilyn, Cher, 4 faces. It wasn't Marilyn, Cher, Marilyn. So I had to do 4 faces, and they're totally different. So that was a lot of work, but I didn't complain at all. I got to do what I wanted to do, so that was nice. It's horrible. It's really, it's overly short. It's horrible. I got accused of that once at a store, at a restaurant. I was sitting there, and the lady goes, how long have you been in treatments? I said, what? I said, girl, I just got a bad haircut. And then I went home, and I thought, I'm going to start wearing wigs. I don't want everybody to think I'm sick and you don't feel sorry for me. That's horrible.
Oh
don't put that
God.
in there. But it did happen. It really did. And even I called Ben after I got my haircut. He goes, you like it? I said, yeah. He goes, okay. I said, why? He goes, it's very much a straight boy haircut. I said, well, he did only use clippers.
Tell me about a shopping trip with Cher.
One time we were at a shoe store on Santa Monica Boulevard, and they made the most exquisite Italian boots. I mean, just handcrafted. They were gorgeous. I mean, I've never seen anything like them. And we sat down, and the guy was going to bring some over to show her because we saw one pair in the window. And she goes, she told him her size, and they were going to bring them out. And this little girl was with her mother. And she must have been in her maybe 12, 13. She walked over. She said, excuse me. She said, are you Cher? And Cher looked, she goes, no. And the girl started walking away, and she hit me. She goes, yes, I am. Come back. She goes, I love that. And I thought, how funny is this? So now when people say, Wayne, can I get a picture? They say, no. I said, oh, of course, yes. I always go back to that because it's like I just remember it. And what's funny is being around her, I learned how to do her laugh. That people don't learn unless you're really right with her or watch a lot of videos. But I learned her laugh. It's like, I didn't do this. I don't know this. It's like she's crazy. It's like she just laughs and giggles. But I know it's little things I learned that most people won't get the chance. Now,
Tell me about Estelle Getty, where you first met her.
This
how your
story was
friendship developed.
I can actually almost see this like it was yesterday. I became roommates with my good friend Paul, who was a waiter/waitress at Lacage. The waitresses were all big, and they were fabulous. They had names like Inez and Roz and Roxy, and her name was Mitzi. And so Paul his father was an entertainment lawyer and spoiled him rotten. And we went and looked at an apartment, and it had 3 beautiful sliding glass doors that went in the balcony. Both bedrooms and the living room all went to the same big balcony right on Hollywood Boulevard. And we went to look at it, and the guy was showing, the owner of the building was showing us. And he said, well, if you do move in here, you're going to be living next door to a very famous celebrity. And of course we were like, who? He goes, I really can't tell you. We were like, oh, you got to tell us. He goes, no. He goes, if you move in, I'll tell you. And so Paul went down and used the phone in the office because there was no cell phones at the time, called his father. And his father said that if that's the one he wanted, and he was moving in with me, which I was older than Mitzi, and I'd kind of watch out for him because he was younger. And he said he would help us with the rent because we could never have afforded it. So we got the apartment, and then he turned to us and said, well, you'll be living next door to Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls. And that was like the #1 show on TV. And that was like, oh my God. Well, we're moving in. and we have these huge feather headdresses. And we're standing in the elevator, and this tiny little lady steps in. And she goes, "You moving in?" I said, "Yep." She goes, "Great, I love it. Drag queens, I love it." And we said, "You're a next door neighbor." She goes, "I knew somebody was moving in. I love it." And from then on, she was like the grandmother or aunt that you never, ever wanted to let go of. She would bring roast chickens and leave them on our doorknobs because she was afraid we weren't eating. If she'd come by our house and we were having a party, we'd drag her in. God bless her. Never forget this. She said, "If you're dumb when you're young, you're going to be dumb when you're old." We went to see The Unsinkable Molly Brown with Debbie Reynolds. She recreated the role on stage with Harv Presnell, who was in the movie with her. And I went and asked Estelle if she wanted to go, and I'd buy her ticket, and she said yes. So Gypsy, myself, Estelle, and my friend David, and my friend roommate Paul, we all went to see Unsinkable Molly Brown. Well, we're sitting there, and it's intermission, and I said, somebody said something, "We should go back and say hi." And I said, "You know, guys, a long time ago, I made a dress for her." Another one of the things where you take a dress to somebody. I did that with Debbie Reynolds as well. And I said, "Maybe I can get us back there." And Estelle goes, "I think I can get it." And all of a sudden I thought, "Wayne, you're so stupid. You're sitting here with freaking Sophia Petrillo from the Golden Girls, and you're going to get backstage." I felt so stupid. I didn't look at her as a celebrity. I looked at her as my friend Estelle. And also, when I wrote a children's book for Neiman Marcus in 2000, and I illustrated the book, and we went to Hong Kong, China. We went to Shenzhen, China, to have the toys made, and I sold 67,000 toys and 2 printings of my book. So I was very proud. It was a launch, and I called Estelle and asked her if she would do the introduction for my book, and she said, "Well, I'm not really an expert on children's books." I said, "Well, Estelle, it would just mean a lot to me." And honey, it wasn't 30 minutes later, a fax came through. Now, the only thing you did not ask.
I'm glad you're telling me. You have to tell me this.
This is something I think that everybody would really get a kick out of. I had my own store on Camden Drive, which is one street over from Rodeo Drive. It was called Wayne Marshall. That's my middle name. And I did costumes and things for Joan Rivers on The Tonight Show when she hosted for Johnny Carson. I did clothes for Joanna Carson, one of his ex-wives. I did clothes for Donna Mills. I did this. You remember how on the Academy Awards when they come out holding the statues of the ladies? I did the gowns for that. And the producer tried to have sex with me in drag. Anyway, but I did. I had my own store. I had my store in Beverly Hills. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. And I always tell people there's 3 things. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. I've never had heterosexual sex. I think those are 3 things that make me young. I love that line, but it's one of mine. It's my own line. I like it.
That's fantastic.
Anyway,
so
basically,
as a gay man, you lived through the HIV epidemic.
Everything.
That's something that a lot of gay men today that are grown men now never experienced. How is that important to their culture?
You have to also think, too, a friend of mine, Freddie, got sick right when I went to Florida to do the show at the Fontainebleau, and he had got pneumonia and was dead in 3 days. And that was when this first it all started, and nobody knew what was going on, what this was about. It was like such a mystery that nobody, even the president at the time, didn't even want to announce that it was a problem. Sounds familiar earlier, doesn't it? Anyway, so that was scary, and it was sad that I lost Freddie. And then you look back and you think, why are you still here, and why are you okay? And then I think to myself, I've helped so many people along the way with things that I think that that's part of it. And if I can make people laugh, and maybe like right now with this virus going on, if I can make people forget about it for 1/2 of a minute and laugh and maybe smile or even shed a tear to a song, I've done something. So this is going to sound harsh, but I don't mean it to be. A lot of straight people didn't care when it was a gay disease. They really didn't care. A lot of people even said, good, it'll wipe some of them out. Then, but now this is hitting their grandmas and their mamas and them and everything. And
and you're speaking of COVID.
And they're getting a taste of what we had with AIDS with COVID. And it's
so
scary.
Now it's a way for them to understand what it was like in a way. Not that it's necessarily a good thing for anyone to have to understand it,
right?
But it's kind of a new awakening or a new perspective on.
But I still don't think that they look at it as the same. I think they don't even want to associate with that. It's sad, but I think that the mentality of the masses are that this is a disease that matters, and that didn't to them.
And that being
HIV.
Would you start telling me about your brother and what he contributed to your life, how he encouraged you, and how he inspired you?
My brother was a typical big brother. He looked out for me. He watched out for me. He took me on trips. He took me on a an Amtrak train one time to California, where I could experience that. I mean, he just did everything in the world. And when he worked for the airlines, he took our whole family to Aruba to go for a vacation. We went to New York first to see Broadway plays, and he opened the doors for everything in the world. And we never really discussed sexuality as far as, what was what. But my sister came to me one time and said he was very depressed, and she found out that he was gay, and she was crying. And I thought, under my bed, I'm thinking, oh my God, if she knew about me, she'd just die right here. So I didn't say. I just consoled her the best I
How
didn't
old
say
were
anything.
you?
I was still in high school. That was scary. But
Sure.
eventually it comes out, and everybody was fine. My mom and dad were on talk shows with me. My father was the very first father ever with a female impersonator on a talk show. My father was the very first one on Geraldo, and I was dressed as Dolly. My leg was going. I was so nervous. My God, my leg was kicking and kicking and kicking. And I didn't know what he was going to say, but he stole the show. And when we got home, I got him a button that said, I'm almost famous, for my dad. Because
You said what?
I'm almost famous. I thought that was
that's
perfect
so
for my dad.
special.
So he
Your
got
brother
to-
made your costumes for you, didn't he?
My brother learned how to bead, and he would sit there and actually just do the beadwork. And he'd sit sometimes hours after hours after hours just to make that gown be absolutely fabulous for me.
For you. Would you start removing slowly at this point?
Sure.
I really
I'll
want
actually
people.
prefer-
I want people to see you.
Yeah, well, they're going to see a sight. All right.
We
This is on my-
love you.
This
We
is
love
somebody, I almost did this the other night.
Did you?
I was going to actually get online to say, watch you guys, see how fast it goes. But I'll just show you. All right, this is what, the more you get into this, is the more you get out of it. It's quick, but it's like the lashes are the almost one of the last things you put on, and the first thing you take off. Because you can save them. It's not like being cheap, but I usually keep them for maybe wear them 4 times. I'll tear the glue off and you reuse them. And if they get really ugly, you just don't use them. That's that. And then the hair comes off. That's the main thing. You gotta get rid of that because. And I had this wall of wigs. I'll show you this.
The wall of wigs.
My husband. So the wall of wigs was Ben's idea, and he said, "What I'll do is I'll drill holes and put dowels, and the wig heads have holes in them, so they go on there, they don't fall off. But I'll do like the king.
That's love.
He's incredible, and he's 9 years younger.
Oh gosh,
Anyway.
Wayne, I adore you. I adore you.
But then you get rid of your brows, and so now you could actually be Whoopi Goldberg. Look, I'm excited. Look, I'm happy. Look, I'm sad. Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
I'm red because I can't stop laughing. Tell me about your relationship with your mother and how she encouraged you.
I did Cher when I was a kid with a wig. I mean, a black yarn wig I made and did shows on our porch. I mean, my family had to know. My God, there was no shock. Her and my father both were really, they were basically real Texan. And a lot of people don't know really what that means unless you are from Texas. But they were very set in their ways, and they wanted what they wanted. And they were always proud of me, and they came to my shows, and my dad would always say, after a couple scotches, they all look pretty good.
What did your mom do, and what did your dad do?
My mother was a mother. She did not work. She worked only at Christmas time to make a little extra money to buy all of our wishes and dreams to make Santa Claus stuff come to the house.
Sure.
And my father worked in printing, but before I was born, he was in charge of illegal gambling here in Dallas with Benny Binion, who later opened the Horseshoe Hotel in Las Vegas. Related to something, and he would go to seedy parts of town and collect money. And he had a guy named Nathan that stood with a shotgun and watched my mother until they could collect all the money they had to get. And so that's what he was involved with for a long time. And Benny Binion was arrested for this. and he did not implicate my dad. And they came to the house, and my mother said they dug up drawers, they emptied everything to find a picture or a receipt from a club or something that would tie my father with him. And they never found it. So when he got out of jail, he came to my father and said, Smitty, I want you to do me a favor. He goes, I'm opening a bar, casino, and I want you to be the general manager of it. And my dad's famous words were, who in the hell is going to want to gamble in a hot desert? It would have been the Horseshoe Hotel in Las Vegas.
Wow.
I wouldn't have had to do all this shit.
You wouldn't have had to do all this shit.
No. Or if I did, I would have had my own hotel or my own showroom.
Well, would you still be Wayne Smith?
I don't know. I might be Mark. I like the name Mark. I'm kidding. Of course I'd be Wayne. I'd be Wayne. I'd be Wayne no matter what. Ebert.
Sure.
And one night, two owners from a country western club here called the Roundup walked in, and one of their managers was there, kind of a pompous queen, but I don't care if he even sees it. So they were trying to fix him up with Ben. When I saw Ben, I thought, oh my God, please don't let him be straight, and don't let him like his own kind, like bears or big guys. Sure. Well, he came and talked to me, and I said, do I know you? I said, no. He said, haven't I met you before? I said, no. We start talking. He sat down. Well, I had a dressing room, so I went in the dressing room and got out of it quick as I could because I wanted him to know I didn't live like that. And we made a date for the next night, and we had our first date, and that restaurant is where he proposed to me and where we go for our anniversaries every year. Now, one thing you have to do when you get out of drag is take out the boobs. That should have been number one, but I didn't do it. But and throw those up. Then you're boobless. But this is basically what I have to do every night. Good.
Let me see where we are here. I think that's it, Wayne.
Well,
how do you feel? How do you feel?
Good. It felt good to me. I think we went way over 30 minutes. I told you we'd do more than 30 minutes.
I forgot the time frame altogether.
Who cares?
I don't
care. It was fun. This is outtakes, right?
This is going in. This has to go.
Oh my God.
This is too good. I say if you don't get it, then you don't deserve to get it because it's so funny. And it's just you. It's just you.
And that's, believe me, I will talk.
You will.
When I was a little kid, you know what we used to play on our block?
What?
All kids play cowboys and Indians, right?
Sure.
We played Egyptians so I could be Cleopatra. And you know, whoever was Mark Antony and Julius Caesar had to be able to lay on top of me because that was sex. So all those little boys, if you're watching this, yep, that's what we did.
Give me another one.
You're evil. Came out of the office with some people and walking past, and she saw me and stopped and stepped back 2 steps. She goes, you look like Cher. I said, you look like Lady Gaga. She said, you diva bitch. And she kept walking. I said, now you have to admit that's fabulous. If you're going to be called diva bitch, at least by her, that's okay.
But that's a compliment.
But it was Lady Gaga. I know. I said that's pretty nice.
An enormous compliment.
I have stories that I'm writing my book it's called Attention Whore, because my first show was in the 4th grade talent show. So I've been that way. I mean, my whole life, that's been what I've loved. So I actually had Frank Sinatra cry, tell me I brought tears to his eyes as Marilyn Monroe, all the way to Lady Gaga calling me a diva bitch. And everybody in the middle. And you have to also sometimes think, and it's like, when I went to school in a place called Red Oak. It's a very country town. If you weren't in the FFA and all that shit, and it just didn't fit in, or sports. And I was in none of those. I would sit in class and be drawing little dresses and get in trouble. But I knew that shit they were trying to teach me wasn't going to get me anything. But drawing dresses, I was going to meet celebrities and get out there and be myself. The last year of school, the last week of school, the counselor called me into her office. Her name was Miss Pascal. I will never forget her. And she goes, Wayne, I understand you have a problem. And I went, no. I said, I'm gay and the people here have a problem with it. But you know what? I'm going to Los Angeles to go to fashion school. And I think there's a few more of us out there. I'll be okay. She didn't know what to say or how. She was just like, and I walked out of her office. I thought, I don't need this. I don't need this.